was a man, they say he was simple. He took less than a day at a time. You could see in his eyes just what he lived for.
Here's what's going on. It is warming up. It was 5 degrees about 4 days ago. Just checking my, here I'll point you down to it. That's my stick and my MB 750. We can see the river's way up. And that's because it's going up to like 53 degrees or something. This is nuts. Hey, I just wanted to let you know I started a tandem YouTube channel. It's called Pneumonia Dan. On that channel, I have followers who are learning how to catch the common cold and then turn it into pneumonia. Yeah, just kidding. I finally went to the doctor last night and it turns out I indeed have influenza A. Don't worry about me, I'm getting better. I'm doing my Trapline check on my ATV, which is not too strenuous. And thankfully my buddy Todd is checking my traps out on the walking line. So here's Todd. He looks cool with his traditional trapping basket, huh? So thanks, Todd. It's good to have a trapping buddy. And you know, I haven't told you guys about this, but I also use Onyx Hunt, which is an app that helps me locate exactly the GPS of all my traps. I am actually this year starting to make notes on each of those trap sets as to what kind of set it is, what kind of lure I'm using, what bait I'm using. And I note that in my Onyx, so at the end of the season I could go back and kind of check what's working best. Any case, it's raining out. It rained all night. Most of the times I use the ATV and two-wheel drive. I figure that saves me on gas. But man, this morning is the first day I'm really sinking in the mud, so hope I don't get stuck. Using four-wheel drive to get through some of these farm spots. And I did want to mention something else to you that I learned this year, that any of you fishermen out there, you know, like if you fish a river, there's these honey holes. There's these spots in the river where you're just catching them and you know where the fish are and you get really excited to get to that spot. And speaking of that, my brother, Jason Budd, he has a fly fishing business out in Jackson, Wyoming. I'm going to throw his link up here. Shout out to Jason. He knows all about those honey holes and where the big lunkers are. And if anybody goes out to Wyoming, please book a trip with my brother. He'll give you one of the greatest fishing experiences of your lifetime. And yeah, check him out in the link. Here's what I'm getting to. The trap line is like that too. There's once you learn an area, you learn like your honey holes. You learn those areas where you set your traps, where you had the most success. And it feels like there's always room to seek out more of those. It's a little more exciting on dry land than the river because we have so much more land to work with. I'm working out those honey holes, and one of them, oh man, it's starting to pour rain now, is that hay set that you saw I had a lot of success on. So let's go back in time a little bit and I'll show you how I reworked the hay set after it got kind of snowed in for a while. I took my whisk broom and I brushed this whole thing off. I'm going to put some new straw down too to make some really good eye appeal. And I have two traps in here.
Well, here's the old bait hole right here, and there's a trap here, and then I got like a back foot trap over here. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna see how well those traps are working. I hate to trigger them off and have to reset them, but we're doing this for the kids. Let's make sure we catch something if it comes here. So if I push down on this one, nah, frozen in. Ah, well, if I'm in the right spot, the wax dirt that was in there worked, and that was okay. Let's see about this one over here. I have a good feeling it's gonna go off. Yep. So that one went off too. But I'm gonna reset these. I don't have any wax dirt with me today, so I'm just gonna use straw and bed these in here. And I'm gonna build this up. I'm gonna put some more bait in here, some more scent around this, and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, we're partway done here. I have the trap set right down in here, hay clippings over it, and that's my bait hole. But check this out. If I take my shovel, hammer, scooper here, and I put it down in there, it's not going very far, only about 6 inches. So that's why I have this nice big long tent stake. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to hammer that in to get that bait hole even deeper, so that bait is not accessible and they have to work to get in there. Okay, now you can see if I hold on to it down here and I pull this out, that's nice and deep now. Okay, and I'm gonna stuff the bait way down in there with a stick. You know, I thought so. I just scratched around and I have 3 traps in here, and that one went off too. So these traps have been working. Here's a little trick I'm gonna do too. I'm gonna leave that stake right in there and build this whole set around, get all these traps reset, dress all the hay around this. The real key to a hay set is to make a really big area so they get comfortable walking in on the hay. And then I've got 2 back foot spots, and then the bait hole, which I'm going to make really, really alluring, and then 1 trap about 9 inches off the bait hole. Okay, there's the finished set. So we have a couple low spots where there's a trap over here and over there. We have a trap right in front of the bait hole, and it's hard to tell the elevation on the camera, but there's a lot of backing back here, so hopefully they don't work the set from the back, and the bait hole sort of pointing towards the trap on that side. And I made sure there were some other safe places to step, and I'm gonna go ahead and take that stake out and put some bait in right now, and I'm gonna put some new lure here I'll show you. So we're gonna use some of my Bud's Trapline buffet. That's made with muskrat meat, and yeah, I told you I'd share the recipe. I'll do that. And then some Caven's canine lure, and we're gonna go also with some Dunlap Soul Taker winter predator bait in this one, like we did in one of those tire sets. Yeah, we're loading it up here. I'm planning on a fox. Well, the doe is completely exposed now, but still untouched. So if the coyotes don't get in here, we definitely know the birds will. Well, we can see who is out on this rainy day. Mr. Possum. These guys are incredible. So he ripped out my bobcat cubby trap, and I'm gonna have to reset this. Morning, Mr. Possum. Well, the one thing good when you're catching these possums is you know your traps are working. But I wanted to show you, because I've talked about this a lot, this hag slide. So this is the chain that allows the trap to slide away from the set location. So here, where is it? Here is the slide right here. So it's a metal piece that Jeff Haggerty designed and has manufactured, and it's on a number 2 chain, and you can see that it can slide away from the trap site, but it binds up when they try to come back, so that's why they go away. But if you'll notice,
in my when I caught that big bobcat, he messed up the cubby. So I sent that off to Hags and showed him, and he said likely what happened is if I tapped this chain into the ground, which I did, it froze in, and then when the bobcat was caught immediately, he couldn't slide down the chain because it was frozen in the ground. But then when I came to the set and he was actually hiding under this log, and then he took a great big leap, and then he loosened it all the way to the end. So from now on, I'm not going to tap the chain into the ground, but I am just going to cover the first few feet of it. But for winter time, I'm going to make sure I'm not really, wedging it into the ground, because there's really no need, and I want it to be able to work to pull the whatever the catch is away from the set. So super muddy this morning. Yes, the trap worked for the possum. I don't have any wax dirt with me, so I'm gonna bed this in with some grass and then cover it up. I'll show you the reset. So in other words, rather than putting that trap back in the mud hole, I put some grass underneath it, so it's protected from hopefully freezing down once we get some cold nights again. And again, this is for a bobcat cubby, so I'm not worried as much about having the trap really solid, but honestly, this is pretty good. It's got a little rock to it. I'm gonna squeeze it down in there a little more with 2 hands and then get some grass on top. All right, here's the remake, and I put some Rage predator lure. So my bird is gone, so the hole's still there. I just covered it up, but down in there, right about in here, I can't see. Anyways, I got the Rage down in there to get some aroma into this cubby, and I redid the trap here, tons of blocking, so hopefully a bobcat steps right there. And I've been catching fox on this, so maybe the fox is going to want that new bait and step in that trap too, but better chances for a bobcat. Still got our flagging up, and it's reset. It's like springtime again. We had rain yesterday. The trail is muddy again. I have a few sets which are completely flooded. So learning, always learning. So I'm assessing, my locations, and first time on this farm, but I know where not to set next year in terms of where the water is pooling. And sometimes that's just not easy to figure out without knowing the land. Okay, we're gonna get on down the line and see if this warm weather is livening up the traps. So you notice when we were doing the cold weather trapping, I was using a little bit stronger scents, because we need a little bit more long call, stronger scents, because they don't travel well in the dry, cold air. But as the air warms up and there's more humidity, the scents are carried. So maybe some of the work I did a week ago, resetting the hay sets, is now coming alive. Well, the birds are talking this morning. They feel the warm weather. This warmth might bring the coons out too from their torpor and coming out to get a snack, so I'm checking all the DPs. I think those are cowbirds up there in the trees. The thing with those birds are awful. So you know what cowbirds do, right? They go into songbirds' nests and they kick out the songbirds' eggs, lay their eggs, and then they leave. So basically the songbirds hatch the cowbirds. Yeah, bad birds, genocide. So check this out.
See this narrow road? Well, when the snow fell, I was able to see that the coyotes are walking right up the edge of this road, and they are hunting this brush around this log pile. So I'm gonna put a flat set right in here. You can also see there's a trail right here, a game trail, small animals, maybe raccoon, maybe fox. And it continues on this side of the road where it's all matted down here and goes into there. So anyways, there's good sign here, and I know the coyotes are working this road right along the log pile. So I already put my hole in the size of my trap. I have a drag chain which I'm going to bury into here. It's off in the brush there. And I put a little bit of wax dirt around the edges, and I'm going to bed it in and show it to you here. Remember, we talked about cutting that hole just the size of the trap, and then if I touch this all around, that's totally solid. It's locked in there. I mean, I can do a little bit of this where we just pound the edges a little bit. I'm going to actually pound this in, but not till I'm done. All right, so totally solid, not rocking, not moving. Sorry, don't have a tripod, so I can't work and have the camera on at the same time, but showing you the steps. So wax dirt, I sifted a little bit of the dirt that came out of the hole over that. I hammered in my chain. Now I'm gonna dress it up with some clippings. Okay, here's the finished set. Hopefully you can't even see it, but here's our trail, and our trap is right under here, but we can't really see it anymore. Hopefully there's no sense. Although what I'm gonna do, because they're working along this road here, I'm gonna punch a hole, very small hole right in here, and just put a little bit of gland lure in there. So hopefully if they're working the edge of the road, they're gonna come around and then step over this way to check out that smell. How I set this trap on the side of this road, honestly, I thought I did a really good job. This is where the edge, where I knew the coyotes were working, and they flipped my trap out. So basically, I think I'm screwed with this family of coyotes. They have my number, and they are just, I think my scents are matching up with danger, and they're just flipping my traps out. Well, this is my wettest, I'm actually sinking in the mud with my feet here. This is the wettest bobcat cubby I have. You see me resetting it all the time, and we got another fox. One of my chicken thieves. Who would have known the bobcat cubby would work so good for fox? I'm not even really targeting them, but I'm happy to have them. And this looks like a pretty nice guy. Well, I think we're going on 3 weeks of this deer not being touched in here. Super interesting, right? Not by the birds, not by the predators, and all the grasses are flattened down from the freezing rain. But I still have 3 traps in there. Just gonna let them ride. Well, I'm down here in my beaver sets on this pond, and if you remember, these are under the water MB 750s, so they're too big of a foothold to put above land. And there's been no beaver activity in here for like a month, so I'm actually waiting to more seriously beaver trap where I find some sign. But I did get something else this morning. A coyote. So this guy was caught in a water set. Was over here in this water. I can't believe it. So what he must have done is he must have smelled the beaver caster that I had right over in here on this tree, and he got stuck down in the water down there. So, well, don't doubt yourself about the water sets. So that was a perfect set for a beaver, but also a coyote who is rummaging around in these wetlands, and definitely could not smell that trap because that trap was a good 8 inches underwater, so he was walking through the water. So unfortunately, I only get 1 of 2 wins on this coyote. The fur is not good, and he's not worth anything in fur, but I am helping this particular area. There's hunters in here, and we're doing a little predator control, so it's not much, but we got 1 out of here. Well, good morning, Trapper Dan on the Trapline. It's February 1st, and I think we're gonna close off this episode. Finally caught a coyote. Not how I expected to, but goes to show, you know, that beaver caster can definitely pull in the predators. And there was no bait, right? He was just walking around in the swamp. Definitely failed on the tire set. I think those are a waste of time. I'll never do that again. It seemed like a good concept, and I should have known when I saw a lot of people setting them on YouTube, but not too many people catching anything. This tire back here, you know, all the tire sets, there's actually more deer tracks around them than there is any predator tracks. So you know, it's gimmicky. I tried it. I will stick to going with more natural sets. The hay sets work out great, and still working on my blind trail sets. Here's something interesting, a bit personal. I came to this area about 27 years ago, and I was looking at real estate, houses and land, and my wife and I looked at this piece of land. It was the first real estate we ever looked at, and then we spent like a year looking at other places, and one day we were driving around, decided we wanted to build a house. We were with my mom, and we saw this land, and it was still for sale, and my mom's like, "This is perfect. Why are we driving all over the place? This is where you should be." Well, we went to turn around in the house next door, and it said Thomas Budd on the house. And we were like, huh. Well, my name's Dan Budd, and Thomas Budd was our first ancestor that came to the United States in like 1632. Thought that was weird. Passed the next house, and it said Eugene Budd. Then I got to the end of the road, and it said Budd's Corners Road. I pass this sign here on my ATV every morning. And this farm here that I'm on, this one of these farms, it's a 200-acre old dairy farm, is the old Budd farm. So it's out my back door, but I'm the new Budd on Budd's Corners Road, and I am trapping where I guess possibly my ancestors trapped years and years ago. I did meet Eugene Budd before he passed away, and we tracked our genealogies back. So anyways, I'm feeling very at home here. I'm privileged that the new farm owners let me come out here and trap on their property. What's next? Well, I got a call from a landowner who's having some beaver problem. So I did actually pick up this beaver right here. A huge 60-pounder from a friend of mine was a roadkill. And that means the beaver are moving. And so this landowner called me and said he's having some beaver trouble. So probably in the next episode, even though we have 2 weeks of predator season left, we're gonna start trapping some beavers. Remember everybody, trappers snore, sustainable, natural, organic, and renewable resource.